Hi, everyone. This week's episode of What Grinds My Gears by Bad Teachers is brought to you by Piso 24. That's Piso, Piso 24 restaurant in Tegucigalpa, Honduras. Address Edificio Metropolis Torre 2, Piso 24, Tegucigalpa, Honduras. Phone number is plus 504-2262-7076. Their cuisines: French, international, Mediterranean, fusion, South American, Central American. That's a lot of different types of cuisines. Go there, mention that Bad Teacher sent you, and you will get 50% off of all rum products. Without any further ado,
Yo estaba sentado en cerro, se cayó el cerro y a la miel el perro, y se va la vida.
How dare you interrupt me? Come on, man. You've only been using it for 10 weeks.
hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of What Grinds My Gears by Bad Teachers with,
Why, Mr. Humps?
hey, Humps, and Spyro. And we have a special guest today.
Ooh.
Aren't they all special? But this one is very, very special. And it is Dr. Hannah Wagner talking to us today from beautiful California, United States.
Ooh.
How you
Hello,
doing, Hannah?
Wagner. Come on down.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Pleasure.
Thank you for being on with us. And so let's get down to the nitty gritty of it all. We've known each other for I think 5 years now, right? So Hannah and I work together. You just completed, no, not just, but about a year or two ago, you completed your doctorate. Is that correct?
Yes, I did. My EDD in curriculum and instruction.
Okay. And so basically, when I first met you roughly 5 years ago, I remember you were telling me, I'm going to start it. You did start it. You are a woman of your word. You did it. You came, you saw, you conquered. How was it? Because it's not, it's not a walk in the park. How was the whole journey? I think you did roughly 4 years, 3.5 years or whatever it was.
I did it pretty quickly. And I have to say that it inspired me to be next to colleagues who I admired, you being one, and another friend of ours who you know well. And you guys got to have doctor on your name tag, and I didn't. And that was my inspiration. I thought, man, I got to keep up with these guys.
Oh, hey, hang on a minute. Spyro was an inspiration to someone. I can't believe it.
Can you believe it? So,
Hey, man. Sorry, man.
No worries.
I was working full-time online while doing the curriculum, doing the coursework. So that was a lot of work. For 2 years, I did full-time doctorate coursework, and I worked full-time for the online university that I know Spyro from, that we are colleagues with. And that was a lot of work. And then when I got into the capstone portion, I went to part-time. And ultimately, I really wanted to expedite through the capstone part, because you know how that is when you are on a big project and it's so hard to do a couple hours here, a couple hours there. It's all about momentum. So I stopped working for about 6 months, and I just treated it like an 8-hour day. And I wrote and wrote and wrote, and I finished it. My mentor was actually upset because I believe the university I was attending wanted more money out of me. And I finished before anybody had finished the capstone, and they were trying to find something else wrong with my product. And I just said, I'm done. I'm out of here. So I like to be busy. I kind of do better the busier I am. If I have too much time to play with it, I think that can be one of the challenges for online teachers and learners, is if you have too much time in between, and you don't have to structure your time, then it's easier to not do as well. So I powered through it, and I got spit out the other side with, the promise of, your doctorate will open multiple doors for you, and I'm waiting for the doors to open. Yeah. I think it's hard to get, with everything being online, which we're used to, I think it's difficult to be in the pool, the job pool, where that's one thing that I think is completely to our disadvantage is you don't have the door to knock on in the face, or the people that say, oh, I know her, to get to take that step from being a professor of, almost 20 years I've been in higher education, but taking that step with the ticket I have now, they always want 3 years of experience. And so my question to you is, where do you collect that 3 years of experience when every position with the doctorate wants 3 years of experience? That's where I'm at kind of right now. I am teaching at the graduate school of ed, which I could not have done without my doctorate, and that's fine. But you go from having 40 students in a course to I have 1 to 6 students in a course. So I have a very low. They do submit much more substantial work, so that I get that they cap it at I think 8 or 10 students. But
wow,
yeah.
What do you teach generally?
Small number. Wow,
it's a small number. I'm teaching. It's the Graduate School of Education, so they are mostly master's candidates for they're getting a teaching certificate. So I teach anything from legal issues in education to a course on equity and inclusion. It runs the whole thing. I have a classroom a behavior management course I'm teaching. We cover everything from homelessness to plagiarism, of course, and digital and media ethics. I have a course on digital media ethics.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of different courses, but with very few individuals in the courses.
Yeah, right. That's very interesting, very specific. Now,
it is very specific.
Just let me interject here, if I may. So you work with Spyro on this online university. Now, I hear about this online university from Spyro a lot. Sounds like a load of bogus old fictitious nonsense to me, I tell you. We've had some of these online universities in the UK, and this was one dude sat in a small office pretending to be a university. And I'm not even joking. This stuff hit the news big time in the UK. It was some bogus university of one of the 4 countries, I won't say, one of the 4 countries that makes up the so-called United Kingdom. This was the University of blah, and it was some dude sat in an office somewhere pretending to be a university. It was a complete fraud. So I've really never seen any evidence of this so-called online university that you now both work for.
Well, Spyro and I made it up. We made it up, and we share the wealth. We just cut it right down the middle, and we collect tuition, and it works out pretty well.
My God, I tell you what, Hannah, you must have been working in the UK, because you've just described precisely what happened over here. You'd never seen anything like it in this country until that happened about 10 years ago.
I have heard of
and it's exactly what you described.
Is it too close, too early? I made it pretty obvious that I was part of that, didn't I? No,
that's exactly what Hannah and I do. We split the profits 50-50 million.
I tell you what.
And when we're not teaching, we're on yachts around the world, So.
Right.
Well, fair freaking play for truly personifying capitalism at its best. I love it. It's great. I'm just jealous. I need a slice of that. Come on. Where's my yacht?
Go online and you can go global. You don't have to.
That's true.
There's no overhead.
It's so true. It makes a mockery of the whole university name title. Right. In fact, Spyro and I have worked together in an organization that managed, God knows how, to get university in its title. It should never have happened. It was a disgrace that it happened, and all the proper universities in the UK were up in arms about this second-rate institution that wasn't really that was nowhere near university standard getting it in its title. So it's a bit competitive out there. There's a lot of snobbery around the word university, and of course location.
Well,
I'm no stranger to that. I work for a good one.
You bring up there's a lot of scam online universities and regular universities too. So, and now with the coronavirus, and so now with the fall semester approaching us, some major universities, Princeton University, which I'm very near, they've decided to have freshmen and sophomore students come for the fall semester, and junior and senior students come for the spring semester to sort of split them, not to have too many people on campus. My point is that even these big name universities are doing online now, whether they like it or not. So, and yeah, you're right. There's a lot of garbage on. Actually, me and Heidi met at our university, at the actual university, which we won't disclose where that place is, but and it's a beautiful building, a beautiful sort of campus, if you want to call it that.
Nice.
But because it's online, you won't find one student there, so it's a little bit odd.
There's an administrative campus, and thankfully, because I think we all had somewhat of an awakening. We realized that, we gather there for a week and we feel like we know each other far better than we do, just because we have it's kind of a unique job that not a lot of people understand that well.
Yeah, right.
And they would bring groups of us there for workshops and stuff, which is a great way to use the campus. Although, like Spiro's saying, it's a big, beautiful building, very empty, and you wondered if it gets used that much. And we kind of thought we should get to come a lot more often, just so we could have a little bit more community and contact with our university in a physical way. But
yeah, the truth is we were there with a couple other friends, and we were just we were like college kids when we were there. We were just having fun.
We were getting to know campus. We were trying to experience it fully. And
that's interesting. Yeah. The big coronavirus thing now with the universities this week in the UK, the announcement came out yesterday. There's a possibility 13 universities on England's, Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales' list of universities, 13 could very well go bankrupt as a result of coronavirus and as a result of those universities not being very good or in an undesirable location. And so we're just kind of sitting here twiddling our thumbs thinking, well, they weren't very explicit about which universities these were, but there are 13 on the list that are likely to disappear. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. But that's how it's, really affecting us now. It's the numbers of students signing up and paying their $9,500 if they're a domestic student, or up to $20,000 if they're an international student. Those numbers are not coming in. Yeah. And those universities are just not getting it. Because you and I well know that half the sell of any university course is the goddamn campus. So, the location of the campus and blah, blah, this and building that and blah, X, Y, Z and ABC. So, when you haven't got that, you're in trouble, perhaps.
Well, you're right. I have a question too, to you both. When schools that haven't traditionally been online are trying to go online, we've seen what that happens with, high schools and middle schools. There's a bit of a scramble. Do you think the students are going to stick with that transition, or maybe go to a university like ours that's been online from the beginning and kind of knows what it's doing? And the discrepancy in prices, are people still going to try to stay with the university because of the name?
Oh, that's a great question. Now, look, so what we're noticing here in the UK, as a for instance answer to that question, is a lot of candidates, they don't want a fully online course. I don't want to be 100% online. They want, for example, the London experience with on a London campus with a good named London-based university. So, they're not prepared to stand for this 100% online. They do want, but there's a suggestion at the moment that they want blended. So they need some kind of balance. Candidates don't consider an online experience, across Zoom with a set of slides and someone talking at the other end is a very good online experience. And I would support them on that. I think it's just a joke, really. Excuse me. You've got a lot of candidates will choose universities where there is a increased tendency towards face-to-face because they still crave that. My goodness, do they ever want a discount? I think it's going to be very difficult. We've seen this in the private education. Seen this with companies in Saudi Arabia as well. It's still me but now it's me online. Somehow my value is worth less than it was before. And students are looking at that as well. And they're saying, well, it's the same professor doing the same content, for example, but because it's online, they only want to pay half or 30% of the fee, because somehow that lack of interaction, or somehow the value they see when they pay their 9.5 is the campus and the location, but it's also in the classroom with the professor and other people. When that's removed, some of the essence of the value, some of the core value in pricing is removed from the course as well. And
I actually think that mentally there's a psychological piece to this as well, that when people are going online, they're acting like consumers that are purchasing something, and they will treat their professors that way. All of a sudden, when you go to campus and you're wandering around and you're late for class and I think they take more responsibility for what they're producing academically. And when they go online, I really think they're shopping, they're purchasing something, and they treat you like they are buying something from you, rather than they don't take as much responsibility for what they're doing.
That's a really interesting observation. And certainly myself, colleagues, blah, blah, we've had some of those experiences over here. The privatization of education, which happened a long time ago, has not necessarily been great for some. It has been great for some, and it's not been great for others. And actually, I wonder whether or not this kind of shakeout at the moment isn't necessarily a bad thing. They do treat the professors like, they say, what I often hear is, yeah, but I'm the customer. I'm your customer. And I'm like, I'm sorry to say, you are not my customer. You are the customer of the university. But in my fucking class, you're an unfinished product. You're a work in progress. You're a dusty, incomplete product on the shelf. So what they think is wrong. Well, it's right for them in terms of their reality, and the universities have got this positioning wrong. You can be a customer of the university and blah, blah, go and do all those lovely things, whatever. But actually, when you're in front of the professor, you're there to learn something. You're not a customer. You are an unfinished item. You are a work in progress. But my voice... that kind of argument I make these days is falling on deaf ears more and more, so to speak. I think I'm in the minority when it comes to that kind of thinking. And so, so actually now the students want to be entertained, and they want to buy, if you like, exactly as you say, Hannah, they're buying something from you. They see themselves as the customer, even in the classroom. And actually, this is a bit of a problem when it comes to learning, because they're ready to challenge. So when they don't do very well on their assessment, that's my fault. It's my fault. It's the professor's fault, right? Right, which is exactly what Hannah's talking about. I don't take responsibility. Now it's my teaching or my grading. The amount of times I get challenged on, I should have got 70 or 80 for this. You've graded it wrongly. Who the fuck are you to tell me?
Well, let me ask you.
Blah, blah, blah. So there is this inherent problem. Sorry, Spyro.
No, I was going to ask you, Hannah, how do you, because that's a good point, that students are coming to class, especially online, because, they're doing a few clicks, they buy something. I mean, you can buy a house now online. You could buy a car online. You could buy, so.
Now they're selling degrees online, evidently.
Yeah, so.
Yes, you can, yeah.
How do you handle that today in the year 2020 as a professor, with balancing out that kind of what Stephen was saying with what you're saying, in the sense of, how do you balance out the fact that they still are students, but in a weird way they are customers, but you're also trying to prepare them for the workplace. And when they do go to the workplace, they're not a customer, they're an employee. And,
yeah, right.
How do you balance that out as a teacher?
Such a good question. It's such a good question, Spyro. And the problem is, I think we get some pressure from our organizations to, it's false too, but they want good retention rates. They want good graduation rates. They want these kids, they want these students, these learners to pass their classes. But sometimes I feel stuck in the middle of giving a valid assessment of a learner's work and making sure they pass. So, maybe people get a lot of C's out there now. I think a lot of people shouldn't be passing.
Oh,
We're
yes.
scraping them through because of the
Oh,
pressure.
my goodness.
You know,
Agreed.
It's
the organization
amazing.
wants their tuition check, and these learners are trying to buy their degree. So what's happening is we are delegitimizing a lot of the degrees I don't think they hold the value that they once did. I think some of them do. Some learners, that's what's unfair. Some learners earn this degree.
Yes, a lot don't.
Other learners from the same organization might have a degree that, my problem is I don't want to back up this person and saying, hey, you're ready to go out and do this. And I was one of the people that supposedly taught you and prepared you. And then they go out and they're saying they're employees, but they're lousy ones, or they shouldn't be there.
Yeah, so, I'm completely on the same page as you, Hannah, when it comes to it's exactly the problem I see here and exactly the situation I find myself in when I'm challenged all the time by students. I mean, oh my goodness. I mean, some candidates at some places that Spyro and I have worked, but not at the same time, along with Bob Brooks from a few weeks ago. I mean, these are places where candidates are getting 28% and someone's saying, yeah, but they need to pass at 40. I mean, how the hell can you pass a program at 40% anyway? It just seems ridiculous.
And haven't you felt the pressure from your program directors?
Yeah, exactly.
Why
well, let me ask you, Hannah, what does a student have to do in your class to get an F? Not the pass, to get an F.
It's at graduate school, graduate level, they need a B. So I've had students really upset with me, and they're in a master's program, and I don't know how they got that far. It's telling me I have to take this class. I'm not interested in it. I was teaching a course on, it was the behavior management course, and it really does focus on a K-12 setting, even more so a K-8, because it's about behaviors and redirection and, rephrasing and all these. It's basically a basic psych class on, instead of, for example, saying, how far behind are you? You say, how's the catching up going? I mean, it's psychology, just word usage and how you can encourage children. So she tells me she wants only to be teaching adults. She's not interested in any of this or management plans. And I understand that. So two questions I asked her. Well, why, first of all, how did you get to this level? How are you in a 500 level course, which I didn't directly. Secondly, why in the world does your program have you in a course that's basically teaching you to teach second grade? I don't know. So she emails me. She's very upset. She says, I actually took it as a compliment. I have never had anyone put so much red on my papers and be so hard on me. And I'm like, thank you. No, that's actually, she doesn't realize what a compliment that is. I've never had anyone so tough. And I'm telling you, this person, I honestly didn't know if English was her first language, it happens. And then I found out that it was. She just had really poor writing skills. And for me, that's one of the telltale signs of, is this person prepared to have a PhD or a master's degree, and they couldn't get through 3 sentences in a row without, really, really severe grammar and syntax and, all that. And I don't know how, that to me is one thing. You need to have strong writing skills to be a post
yes.
in the postgraduate program. That should be cut and dry. It's a good way to just say, you know what, on your application letter to try to get into a program, I could tell right then and there, if they just put it through me, you need to go to a writing course. You need to work on this. You just can't be at that level and have poor grammar and syntax. So
agreed.
So what happens is when you email and these emails go back and forth, I'm trying to answer your question, Spyro, I'm sorry. You finally get the person on the phone. And what I've realized, and I've said to many students in the past through these emails, that you sometimes get to this point where I said, if you were sitting on the other side of my desk in my office on a campus, would you be saying this to me? And often the student will kind of think, you know what? No. So when you dehumanize things, sometimes you stop treating people like a human. And there is no way in the world that if I were at a pretentious university, or any university for that matter, in an office, having an office hour with these students, they treat you with respect because you're their ticket. You're like, hey, I got to get on this person's got to help me out. I'm having a hard time. But again, when we're back online and we are customer-consumer relationship, hey, you get mad when your package is damaged. You get mad if it's late. But the funny thing is, they're the ones getting mad at us because their product wasn't praised enough. And I think maybe I am one of those tough professors. I just have a standard that I'm going to stick by, and I'd rather get in trouble for having a certain percentage of my students not passing and they're not making the higher ups happy. And actually, I'd rather, I guess, do that and be honest with where these people are than send them out into the world and have me as in their trail of what got them there when people start complaining.
Hear to that. That is so good to hear. Integrity and standards need to be maintained. And in the UK, we have a similar problem. We have overgrading going on. In the last 10 years, the average mark has gone from 58 to 64. I
should interject there. To pass in England, it's correct me if I'm wrong, Stephen. It's 40 and up, correct?
It depends at the university. Some universities you can pass a module at 40%. Mm-hmm. Other better ones, it's 50. To pass, and
but it's hard to get those numbers you're hearing, 50 or 60. It's not as easy to get in the UK as it is like here.
Because 60 we're still going for 60 at undergraduate here, I believe, to get the.
We're right around there, yeah.
To get the pass,
Yeah, to get a first in the UK on a decent program in a decent university, you're looking at 70 plus, and
right.
And so some, lots of people can do that. To get anything above 80, wow, you've done amazingly well. I mean, the British culture, or certainly the English culture, when it comes to grading is, look, if you're doing a strategic marketing or some kind of non-numeric study, and you're doing something like, consumer behavior, to get 80 or more would be considered tremendously, superbly, fantastically, naturally brilliant. And very few do. We don't tend to grade. I know tutors on these kind of programs. I don't know, someone that gave 95% for a piece of work on marketing, where you can't get that much of it right, because much more of that is open to debate and challenge than just 5%. So we got these kinds of anomalies going on. But yeah, in the UK, typically, if you get more than 75 or more than 80, wow, because professors don't tend to find candidates or give those kinds of grades. It's different if you're doing an accounting. I did an accounting exam.
Really different. It's interesting the different ways that the grades are structured, because here, I mean, I'll have a student and maybe in a forum, a discussion, and I give them, the rubric is so weighted so easily, so that if you have some grammar errors, it takes off 1.5 points or so they get a 98, for example.
Oh my goodness.
A student gets a 96, and they will often ask me, why did I lose those 4 points?
Yeah, I get that a lot too.
And I kind of like to say, if you're getting 100 on everything, you shouldn't even be in here. You've arrived. You're there. You're ready.
Yeah.
I don't think 100 is, and that's so. What's interesting from what you're saying, and Spyro, correct me if I'm wrong. If your students are this way, they kind of think they deserve 100% if they checked all the boxes out on the criteria, even if it's not. I have to tell them as someone, yes, you hit all the spots, but the quality of your
right.
So
you know what? Yeah, you touch on another interesting point there, Hannah. This rubric thing. Now, the research doesn't suggest that rubrics make things better. It doesn't necessarily suggest they make things worse. But my anecdotal evidence use of such things is, I've worked in places where there have been almost 20 different elements to the rubric. Well, I tell you what, if there are 20 elements in the rubric, no one's failing, because you can't. There are so many elements. You're probably going to pass, even if you get.
That's why online universities require them. I'm realizing from what you're saying, or ours at least, it's because it will pass the person. They will pass.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. So, and I have a problem with this. Yeah, they're geared to make sure people get through, and that's wrong. Yeah.
And the thing with the
You can't give a
rubrics,
0 on a rubric on some of these. Sorry.
the thing with the rubrics
Sorry.
is that they're generic many times. So you'll have the same rubrics in class A, B, C, and D, when in reality, if we were to really get like specific with this, there should be a different rubric for each assignment within the class. But of course, that's a lot of time and that's a lot of effort. But there's this cookie cutter solution that we're using of the same rubric, whether it's psychology or whether it's perhaps even like a sports management class or a marketing class.
Man.
I think that's wrong. I think we need to, as professors, every professor should be in control of their own class and have their own rubric, and therefore their own teaching style as they do.
Right, and the rubric then lends itself. I don't disagree with that. The trouble with the rubric, then it lends itself to very specific things that need to be included. So you get the hands up. Well, what should I include in that section? Well, learn the fucking course, and then you'll know what to put in it. So I hate that prescriptive. Oh, this section should include these things. So then what you get is, well, I've done that, and you get these little short paragraphs and I did that. Kind of list of things just because you should be there. But
a packet, like the old days, it's a worksheet. It's so scripted, like you say. It's not an essay anymore. That's why none of these people can write an essay. I'm sorry, I don't want to say none. I do get some very good students. I'm talking about,
of course,
the good customer, bad customer ones here.
Yeah, sure.
I agree. Those rubric, and well, maybe because of the type of educator I am, that maybe I'm the reason they don't allow us to make our own, because mine would be pretty. Maybe it would have 3 things on it, 4 things.
Yeah, right. There you go. Yeah.
Really weighted on what do you think I care? I care so much about the grammar and writing skills and syntax and stuff like that. And I don't think we should be telling 20, 25-year-olds in paragraph 1 indent. And
exactly.
Question.
That bothers me so much.
Hand-holding, really.
How dare you interrupt me?
And we are back.
We are back.
Yes.
Now, what were we talking about?
Oh, yeah. To the audience out there, we just went out to the pub. We had a few beers, and we're more refreshed. We're better. No, actually, I'll start off with a question, and then Humps, you come back and you do your question. Then we'll go to the final segment of Fai di Puzzatura. Here's my question to you, Hannah. So grade inflation, it's there, it exists. I don't want to hear it doesn't exist from anybody, because I'll kill myself if I hear that. How has administration at all the places you work at, currently, prior, how have they pressured you? I don't want to say pressure. Well, pressured, yes, but pressured you without actually saying it to inflate your grades. Is that making sense? How have they pressured you? Because what I've noticed is textbooks are becoming a thing of the past.
Yeah.
And that's really, really aggravating me, because books do have a lot of value. And that's one, that's obviously a cost saving technique, but it does also lend itself to that. How have you noticed that you've been pressured one way or the other by Advent, nonchalantly to inflate?
I think what they do is, and this has happened more when I was teaching at the undergraduate level, I think what happens with the graduate students is that they realize maybe they're in over their heads. A lot of them will drop, some of them hang in there, but I will have, maybe on an end of the year or an evaluation, or I'll get some sort of feedback about the grades, or I know I used to get a lot of students failing when I was teaching language, when I was teaching Spanish. It's just, that's one thing you can't fake it. If you have 0 experience, then you're not doing the work, then it's going to show. But they would give me a report on, how many learners got A's, B's, C's, et cetera, how many were failing. And we would talk about retention. How likely are they going to take another course if they fail this one? How can we bring up these numbers? It would be more of a conversation, or a generalized message would go out. And this, again, I don't know if this happened in other departments aside from language, but our program director would send out a goal that, hey, we're going to try to get our, what do they call them? They call them they had, and you would remember this, Spiro. It was 3 letters. It was something, the withdrawals, the F's, the fail, withdrawal, and incomplete rate. They had some word that they called it. We're going to try to get that rate up to X, Y, Z%. So I think they would try to incentivize it in that way. They would try to acknowledge it as a problem without calling it a problem, you know, trying to take maybe a positive inquiry approach to it. Hey, let's not recognize problems. Let's look at solutions. So that, I don't know. I've never, Marshall. Sorry, that's a phone call. I've never had a direct conversation with anybody about this. I just know it's almost this thing you sense, you know, especially when you have 2 students in your course and they're in, you know, 500 level, 600 level course. And you know that they're kind of expected to keep going because they've made it this far. What's wrong with your teaching? You know? So, I don't know if I answered the question well, because I don't. Yeah, I have just given the grade and close my eyes and submit it and just think this poor person. The other thing about our students is and this is interesting. I don't know, Stephen, if you've talked. I'm sure you have talked to Spiro about the types of learners we have. We have learners who get a lot of financial support. They get a lot of financial support. But their financial support is contingent upon pass or fail. If they fail their course, they have to go ahead and pay for it. If they pass their course, they get to keep getting funded. I mean, it's a pretty good deal. So not only, this is where you really feel the customer pressure. Not only is it, you know, you get the pressure of, hey, if you don't pass me, which is interesting terminology, not if I don't pass, but if you don't pass me, I have to pay for it. And this is not my problem.
Yeah, exactly. I hate that when they make their problems or try to make their problems or their issues our problems. It drives me to distraction. It drives me to being rude towards a student is what it does. Right. So, and, you know, I see it. I can be diplomatic, but I'd rather be direct and blunt these days. But, yeah, that is a problem. If you don't pass me, blah blah blah. I've had this written in exams at the end of exams. Please, sir, you must pass me. If you don't pass me, I won't be. I'm like, jeez.
Or you get, this is the last course of my program, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you're going to be free and have a degree after this.
Yeah, it's right. You know, exactly. Yeah, you have a duty to.
It makes it seem like it's so, you know, objective. It's it's up to me. You know. I don't.
Yeah.
They act as though it's my choice. I mean, it's not a decision I make, and I often tell them it's not. I don't give grades. I just basically give the numbers. You know, I don't give grades. I add up the points you earn, and that you get the grade. You know.
This is how bad this situation is in the UK. Let me give you an example. So I've just finished a contract with a university. Within the London boundary, let's put it like that. And this student got on an absolute rant in an email, copied in every frigging department, management, senior management, professors, everybody, right? His tone was abusive. His tone was argumentative. His tone was insinuation and accusation, right? So I'm one of the people on this email, and I fucking saw red. So I went back to this student, copied everybody in, and went, "How dare you talk to any of us like that?" I said, "There are ways to deal with whatever issue you've got, and you might be having a bad time. That's fine. You might not agree with your grades. But how dare you talk to management, senior management, and staff in this particular way? You owe us an apology." Within 3 minutes, the dean of the business school came back, responded to everybody, and the upshot of it, and I've actually got a copy of it. He said, "We don't support Stephen's comments." And that for me was just said everything, that the candidates are allowed to behave how the hell they like, talk to anybody in any tone they like. And the university runs around going, "Oh, yes, okay, what can we do to help? Oh, what mistakes did we make? Oh, how can we put it right?" It's like, geez, have some goddamn respect for yourself. And that really is where we are with some universities, that students can just run roughshod over everything, shout, complain, bitch, moan, slag people off in emails, just to try and get a passing grade. That's what this guy was trying to achieve, was a passing grade, because I'd failed him.
It's back to the customer is always right. It's like when I worked in a restaurant.
It was a shocker.
And say, oh, you don't like your food? You're right. It's probably terrible. Let me get you something else. I mean, that's what they're asking.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Hannah. That's exact. And it really is quite awful. And so then I got into it with the dean after that, and then I basically said, you know what, I don't even work for you guys anymore. My contract's ended. Turn my email off. I don't want to see this shit. And it's just a terrible. But this is more prevalent in the terrible universities. The ones that are really struggling.
Prestigious universities, Harvard, Princeton, a lot of them have some online programs, but you wonder, are they going to maintain their rigor, or is this going to happen to those schools as well?
That's a really good question, because I do work for one of the best universities in the United Kingdom, in London. I've been there for 9 years, very fortunate, and I love it. And I wonder whether or not I'm seeing or going to see exactly what you've said, Hannah, whether or not these, top end institutions are going to also succumb to the pressure. But what I have seen, what I'm still seeing at the moment, and what I've seen for 9 years, is that those better institutions will support their staff over and above the candidate. And I've experienced that even recently at the good university. Whereas this other university, they want to support the student and screw the staff. And I just, that is quite a stark difference that I notice at the moment in the UK. But who knows what the next 10 years will bring. But I would like to think, and, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. I get that, and that's not great. And I'm in that situation, having lost contracts. I understand it. But actually, if coronavirus has had any impact, any positive impact, it will be to sort out some of these very, very poor institutions that now need to go to the wall. These poor institutions.
Really interesting. You're right. I think it's going to have a weed out process that is probably far overdue.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I think that's a good thing. I mean, we've got the same over here with a chain called Pret a Manger. And it's a sandwich shop, right? I mean, my God, how many sandwich shops can you have on one high street in the UK? It's not necessarily a bad thing that lots of these places are closing lots of branches. Of course, there's a negative effect for that. But actually, let's weed it out. Let's sort it out. Let's get back to some quality, something good, something better on the high street, some fewer options where actually, they have to work hard to give, improved customer service. I mean, London, you've been to London, on the same high street, there'll be 6 McDonald's, 25 Pret a Mangers, and 15 independent sandwich shops. No one needs that much choice. The hell is going on?
Speaking of Prets, we got them here in the States now.
Oh, you do? I wasn't sure if you had, actually. Yeah. I mean, they're owned by McDonald's, aren't they? So, of course, that would make sense. Yeah, man, I mean, it's overpriced rubbish, generally, is what it is. So I think a clearing out, a weeding out, a shakeout, whatever you like to call it, across all sorts of sectors is probably a good thing. But, of course, there are too many people on the planet, and so lots of people now be, worse off as a result, and that's a tricky situation.
It's interesting. I think the online option it's turned education more into a business than an academic institution. And that's where the customer mentality comes in. Yeah. And that's what, with this weed out that we're calling it, I think this might be a benefit or something positive as a result of the virus, is that maybe we will start having degrees matter again and have some validity behind them, where I think at one point 2% of the population have a doctorate degree, and I mean, at this rate that's going to turn into 10 really soon, and it's not going to mean that much anymore. It's not going to be
very interesting.
Those degrees were weeding people out. They were weeding people out who, there's a certain level of people that can get a bachelor's degree. There's a certain level of education required to get a master's degree. And it really was it was a funneled process. Yeah. And that's why that 2% is a thing. And I wonder what it is now, because the
funny thing is that a lot of labor jobs today pay better than people that have college educations, because there's too many people going to college.
Not my laboring job today, didn't. Sorry. Yeah.
So,
right.
I mean, we don't promote anymore the way, 20, 25, 30 years ago, there was a career opportunity to be an electrician, to be a plumber, to be a HVAC guy. Yeah. Something with trades, a chef, a baker, you name it.
Yeah.
But today,
candlestick maker,
anything really. I mean, and today it's, when you're in high school, one of the first things you ask, where are you going to go to college? And it's just it's as if it's 13th and 14th and 15th grade. And the thing is that I know, and you probably do as well, plenty of people that are those trades that I said earlier, that make a killing. They make a killing. I mean, they have houses all over in Florida, here where I live, and maybe another country, and they're doing very well. And then I know people that have, how many degrees you could think of, and they're not doing necessarily better than just an entrepreneur who owns a side coffee shop or something like that. So I do think there's too many people going.
Well, now they're making the community colleges, I'm starting to see them they're becoming free. And so we'll at least get our learners up through a couple years of community college and junior college, which is great. But another example is in Cuba, they educate everybody. Everybody has, you'll see somebody's a doctor and a lawyer. And I know I have friends from Cuba that were telling me, everyone's educated, but a doctor can't afford a car and he's riding a bike to see his clients because he can't afford an office and he makes $20 a month. I mean, so at what point is education losing its value? Maybe. I mean, look at free education. That's amazing that they have this highly educated country, people, and they live, a lot of them live in poverty and have very little. So it's kind of an interesting thing to look at it on a global level. What is educating people really helping here in our country? Like Spyro was saying, we're having more and more people go to these institutions, and it's making the value and the rigor decrease, I think, because we have to compensate for these people. What are they? They're here. They need to benefit from it somehow. Maybe that's what's happening. So we're dumbing things down. I don't know, but it's interesting to think about that. You make a really good point that a lot of these people, I don't know what's going on with technical schools and trade school type institutions through the pandemic and all of that. But you see these people, contractors, developers, they're killing it, and maybe the education isn't why it, they just.
I want to ask you one last question on my behalf, Stephen. If you got another one, you go for it.
No, that's good. You carry on.
Kind of, it was what I brought up a little earlier. What do you make of, what's your opinion on the whole textbook phenomenon that's going on, where we're seeing less and less textbooks?
Well, the physicality of getting them to certain learners who are, if we have learners on a global scale, which we do, they're all over the place. The physical, how often did you have a student say, I never got my book? I mean, or my book's late. That eliminating that is a bonus for us. The other problem, though, you go into open resources and all these things they have available. Inevitably, somebody's link isn't going to work to the resource. So it's just switching the problem. But yes, they're free. But if you're asking me, I don't use a Kindle. I don't read the newspaper on my phone. I like a physical book in my hand. I like to bend the pages and I like to highlight. For me, because my program was online, I did still receive books in the mail, and I kept those books, and I love having those books. I feel like I learned better with the book in my hand. But I don't know if this generation of learners, they're so used to everything being digital, maybe they don't think twice about it. Maybe that's dating us, right? We like books. We like to touch books. And I wonder if that's a question that is generational.
Well, what I've noticed is that like books or even e-texts are not, they're just kind of going to we're Googling stuff much more as opposed to, even if it is an e-text is still text, it's still a book.
Right.
I kind of noticed. And even in England, the time I spent in England over there with Humps at the different universities there, I noticed that textbooks were, they weren't really encouraged. Let's put it like that, because I don't know. I guess it just makes it harder to do the readings, to eventually pass the class. And it's as if I'm supposed to cut it up and give them, all right, here's a handout, you read this, something like that. But I'm supposed to make it easier for them. I miss the good old days where I tell them, hey guys, read chapter 2 this week. We'll discuss it next week, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't happen anymore. That's what I'm getting at here. You know, because it made my life easier back then. Now I got to spoon feed them.
I feel that I don't know that it works as well. You know, I think it's people get different versions of them, and then you can't really go by page numbers and chapters. That's one thing I'll say. A lot of the electronic resources don't even have page numbers. So it's really, sometimes I think students get frustrated and they can't find what they're supposed to be reading. But maybe the younger generation is more accustomed to media resources and things like that. It's a good question. I wonder how the learners feel about it. You know, maybe learners that used to receive their physical textbooks versus those that are now using electronic versions. I wonder if there is an opinion there or a preference. But
Humps, you got any last questions?
Yeah. Well, actually, can we just go back to something you said at the beginning, Hannah Montana?
Don't give away my identity.
You said you've got an EDD, right?
Yes.
The hell is an EDD?
Oh. So the quick version of that, the PhD and the EDD, I took a program and I could choose which I wanted to go for. I felt like EDDs are really encouraged for higher education.
Okay.
And the main difference is, Stephen, that your end result, you take the same coursework as the PhD candidates, but it's how you do your end project. So
okay, got you.
A dissertation. Do I want to write a 500 page? And the ED is a professional product. So you can either write something or actually create something. So I created a curriculum and wrote a research, did my own research. Well, that's research to the PhDs, but you do research on your professional product and you actually present a professional product. So you write something or you write something. That's the main.
I thought it was some fictitious product, you know, some fictitious qualification that you two have got from that fictitious university you work for.
Yeah, Spyro and I are the only ones that have one, a real one, because we made it up.
Actually, I do. I have an EDD as well. EDD is a Doctor of Education.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
But there's so many of them. Like now, the traditional ones, the PhD. Now there's EDDs. Like Hannah was saying, there's DBAs, Doctor of Administration. If you're business guy.
Right.
Yeah.
DBA. Just in education, but and you know the funny thing is when people say you have your PhD, I just say I mean I don't want to try to explain it, and it's the same thing, but it's like, do I need to explain it? I didn't write a dissertation, I did a capstone project, and they don't
okay, all right, cool, thanks for that. So Spyro, should we ask our special guest this evening to lead on the final segment in our ridiculous Tuesday evenings? Okay, go.
Yes, Dr. Hannah. So we do a segment on this podcast. It's called Fai di Puzzatora, which is Greek, and it means it's a good thing you're not next to me because you would hit me. It means eat the dick now. Basically, it's a Greek phrase. It means you have two bad choices in front of you, so just shut up and pick one, kind of is what it means. Nevertheless, this is this week's Fai di Puzzatora.
God.
So this is the way it works. You have to choose one of these two scenarios. They're both bad, but you have to choose one of the two. So the first one is...
Brace yourself.
every day for the rest of your life, whenever you go to log into your email, you have to reset the password every day. Because let's just say you forgot the password. So every day for every email for the rest of your life, you're resetting the password. Which obviously is extra steps to get in there. It's obviously that stinks. And yeah. Anyway,
I hate that. I hate that all, man, but God knows what's coming next. Go on, man.
All right. So, and then the next scenario is every day for the rest of your life, an angry clown follows you to your first destination every day. So in other words, from your home to your first destination, whether it's work, supermarket, library, coffee, whatever it is, an angry clown follows you to your first destination every day for the first 15 minutes. And along the way, whether you're driving in the car or he's following you in his car, he's screaming obscenities at you and making mean comments to you. So an angry clown following you the first 15 minutes every day for the rest of your life.
Wait, 15 minutes of the clown or the password? I might go with the clown.
I'm taking the clown too, man. I'm going to take the abuse, man. I can't be doing with email changing passwords. If I have to do that all the time, I'll throw my computer out the window. That's more expensive. That's more costly to me than some clown bad mouthing me, man. I'll take the clown.
I'll take the clown. But
yeah, man.
It would have been a tougher question if there wasn't a time limit on the clown abuse.
I had to cap it at something at 15
minutes, I think.
Yeah.
But you know, yeah.
I mean, what if you worked like an hour away, then you have it for a whole hour, you know? So it's like, I give it 15 minutes.
15, yeah.
Yeah. So
50, yeah, that's fine. I don't listen to anybody saying anything for the first 15 minutes of the day. That's fine, man. Suits me.
It'll entertain me.
It's a good one, man. What would you do?
What would I do? I'm going to go with the clown too. I hate my password.
The clowns have it.
Where Hannah and I work, every 6 months we have to reset our password. I think it's every 6 months, right, Hannah? Something like that.
I think something like that.
And it is the most annoying thing. It's like I've run out of symbols at the top of my keyboard.
I forget it. Yeah, you know, my next one's going to be
what?
Angry clown.
Angry clown. Yeah. Yeah, but don't forget a number and don't forget a special character and blah blah blah. So it's so annoying with the passwords thing, and that's a whole other podcast in itself. But
yeah.
Anyway,
it is indeed. Hey, Hannah Montana, everybody. Sorry, Hannah. Hey,
thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I believe I was the first woman on the show.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
You are the first woman on the show, and you will not be the last. And we'll probably get you back on the podcast if you're not sick of us already.
I'd love to come back.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. The first guest that would actually love to come back.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
Woman and first one to return. That would be fantastic.
Previous comments have been, I'll come back if I have to and stuff like that. So, you know what I mean? So, excellent. You use the word love. We like that.
Oh, good.
That's superb. And we've got 67 million followers. So,
Yeah, we do. We have a lot of followers. We have a lot of subscribers. I just don't have time to answer my phone all the time for all the sponsors, but we make do. We make do.
Yeah, we do, man. Yeah, we do. Yeah. So, good stuff. Rightio, people.
Yeah. Thank you again, Dr. Wagner.
Thanks.
And have a lovely evening. Humps over in London. Have a good night.
Go, people. Have a good time. Good to see everybody.
Thank you both.
All right.
Pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
How dare you interrupt me?